Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us. We're really excited to be here. I wish I could speak Spanish. But
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's going to be all English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very excited to be here. We've heard so much about Mexican design recently, and it was really an honor to have us here and be able to see firsthand what it's all about. And this event's amazing. You guys are so lucky to have an amazing event around your work. Yeah. So congratulations. Give it up for Decode.
Yeah.
Woo!
And yeah, so we're Ladies and Gentlemen Studio. My name is Jean Lee, and
I'm Dylan Davis. And
so I'm the ladies, he's the gentleman.
yes.
Sometimes we switch.
Yeah. And so we're going to tell you a little bit about our studio's work and a little more about our process and how we design our products. So we're based in Brooklyn. We design furniture, lighting, small home accessories, and we produce a lot of our work. So not only are we designing it, but we're making it in small batches and distributing it, and so really seeing our products through to the end. So that kind of makes us a little bit unique, and especially in the U.S., where a lot of people work with larger companies. Do we have? I think we might have issues with our slides, but we'll show you some of our products in a second. And basically, what we try to do, we do a lot of variations of what we design and make, and there's a common thread that goes through it all.
Now we're back.
All right, we're back. Yeah. Do you want to go to the next one? So here's a sampling of products that we make, and you can see there's a range from small products, like there's the serving tray up there. We do a few little sculptural things, as well as furniture and lighting. And despite this variety, there's this common thread that goes through, and it's this terminology that we use called playful austerity. And really that's about, it's a kind of a contradiction there, right? Like austerity is usually very kind of boring and austere and then simple, and playful is kind of the opposite of that. But we really try to incorporate both of those because we feel like in that tension comes a lot of interest in the products.
Yeah. And I think we believe like within simplicity, it doesn't mean it's boring. You know, there's a lot of value in like just really simple forms, but something about the proportion, it could be really lovely. So that's kind of what we try to focus on.
Yeah, so even though there's a wide range of products, they're all kind of tied together by that concept, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about some specifics about how we go about that.
Yeah.
But Jean's first going to tell you a little bit about our history.
Yeah, so we started in, we met, go all the way back to 2003, so a long time ago. But we met in school, University of Washington in Seattle, and we were classmates, and a lot of late nights working together, working on the project, sleep deprived.
That's how it is.
You know, so you understand the feeling of just, you know, you're half awake and you're cutting, you know, something. But yeah, we spent a lot of time together and collaborated on projects and really developed a really strong relationship, and we became a couple as well after we graduated. And then in 2005, that's when we graduated, we started working at day jobs. And just, you know, it was design jobs, but he was working at a design kitchen company, and I was accessories like purses and soft goods designer. And so just, you know, it's great jobs, but at the same time, we felt like there was something missing, and we wanted to do our own thing. And so in 2008 or 2010, we started our studio and started designing the first product. Up on the left is a chalk piggy bank. And it's a ceramic piggy bank that we actually cast. So we were doing it in our house. So go back. This is our studio, which is our house. And so we were living and working in the same place. And so this is the garage where Dylan was working on assembling things together. This is our office, and then our living room, but then also sometimes turn into a shipping station. But our first product, we made the piggy bank in our garage when late night we're pouring the ceramics. And then the second product is the servers, where we had to, it's powder coated. And so the powder coaters wouldn't mask the servers, so the top doesn't get powder coated. So we were literally using foil. I wish I had photos, but just foil pieces to cover it and then tape it. And then so we would do like hundreds and hundreds of these. And that's just how we started.
Watching Netflix.
Yeah, watching Netflix. But from there, 2010, we started with just those two products. We went to a gift fair in New York, and it was just a sample. And literally, like, we didn't know, nobody knew who we were. But luckily, we were with a group of other designers from Seattle, and I think that's really helpful to have when you're not sure. It's great to have friends or like build a community and you go in on something together. So it's less intimidating, but also you get the support, and so I think that's really helped us, take it to where we are now. So we started a gift fair and just had samples, and then people just started like, oh, how much is this? How many can I get? And I want to order 50 of these, and I want to order, all these stores would come. And we're like, okay, I think we're just going to write down orders. We didn't know, we didn't even know how to make it, like to produce it. So we were just taking orders without really understanding anything. But it was exciting because it was a way for us to start something without, putting a lot of money up front to do like a high production. Back in the days, I think like we were taught that if you want to produce anything, you have to, go to a manufacturer, you have to commit a high quantity volume order, and you have to front a lot of money. But this was our way, without putting a lot of money up front, we got orders first and then made it. So it's made to order in that way. And then from there, we kind of expanded into lighting and chairs and chimes just for fun, and mobiles, and just a whole range. So I think for us it was more about like exploring all spectrum of design. And so since last year we moved to New York. It was a big jump, but it was a really exciting jump for us, or move, because in Seattle, it's a very lovely city to live in, but New York has a lot of excitement. There's a lot of energy there, and since being there, and also we had our own studio, we actually intentionally separated. We have a studio and then an apartment, and we're no longer living and working at the same time, which is great. So this is our studio in New York. And since then, just since last year, we started collaborating with like clothing brands and doing store fixtures. And then the lighting up there, it's a New York-based gallery and showroom, furniture and lighting, and called the Future Perfect. But if you ever get the chance to go to New York, it's an amazing store. These sort of collaboration happened because we were there and started with a conversation, suggesting like, what if can we do something together? Can we collaborate? And kind of went from there. So, so from here, Dylan's gonna talk about sort of our sort of ethos, our ideology and process.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so we touched a little bit about our overall idea about simplicity and playfulness. And really to us, design is about discovery, and we consider ourselves explorers in the design process. So a lot of what we missed about design from the school days was that discovery. And when you're working professionally, it's hard to maintain sort of that excitement. So that always that's become a key mission for our studio, even as we grow, to stay creative and continue to explore new design potentials. So our process is really based on finding these ideal pairings, and so there's that notion of austerity, so simplicity, and then also playfulness. So a lot of those, our mission there is to find these really simple pairings of things that end up being really special. So one analogy that we use frequently is food. Everybody loves food. And one really great example is a favorite dish of ours. It's super simple. It's caprese salad. So the tomato and cheese, balsamic vinegar, and basil. It's super simple, but it's about the combination of these super simple quality ingredients. And nothing's really done to them. They're just combined together, and magically they make these flavors that you don't get from just eating a tomato or just eating cheese. And really, like, good design is about that. It's about letting what the object is, we speak honestly about what it is, and letting the materials speak honestly about how they reflect on the product. So we try to always keep caprese salad in mind when we're designing.
When we get hungry.
When we get hungry, we eat caprese salad. And so we've sort of developed, as we've grown, we've gotten more confidence in our process, and we've developed this wheel of exploration. And basically, there's 6 topics here. I'm gonna talk about each one. But the basic idea is that within this wheel, the design process isn't linear. It's about, and discovery isn't linear, right? You're not looking at one thing and then looking at another. You're involving your whole world around you. So when we're going through the design process, we can fall anywhere within this wheel and use it to create something new. So we have things like the light at the bottom there. That's a little light sculpture. And that was a result of a collaboration, which kind of became an experience. And we explored materiality in that process. So there's glass, this combination of glass and metal and form as well. So so that these bubbles can kind of grow and expand and move throughout this chart sort of fluidly. So there's no one way to design a product in this scenario, but there's a framework to work within.
Sorry, I just want to also preface that these list of values is something that we sort of developed through ourselves, and design could be so broad and open, and so it's very important to sort of for yourselves too, to think about what drives you, what do you value the most, what's the process that you get excited the most, and this is just our perspective. And it doesn't mean it's the way it's supposed to be. It's just one thinking.
Yeah, one thing we learned about this whole process is finding those values and being really confident about them and prioritizing them. It's not about looking at other people's values and saying, "Oh, that's the right way to do it." It's about you and your expression. So that's a good point. Yeah, this is something we came up with, and you can use what you want, and you should add to it and find your own ways as well. Okay, so I'm going to talk about each of these topics. So we're going to go through each one, and I'm going to give you some examples and a little more insight. So one of our biggest things in our process is this idea of hands-on. We love CAD, and it's a great tool, and we're glad that it's available. But at the same time, there's something magical that happens when you pick up materials and you actually start working with them. And so we make it a regular process, a regular practice, especially when we're stuck on an idea or not feeling inspired, to pick up materials and just start analyzing them and combining them in different ways. And so in our studio, we keep shelves filled with these weird little shapes. So there's some wood blocks, there's offcut copper materials that we got from our metal supplier, and wood rings, and just all these different things. And we'll take them out and just start stacking them or combining them in different ways, or folding them or cutting them. And more often than not, that yields something really special and direct. And so there's a few products that we've done with this process. There's some with these little wind chimes that are really just kind of material studies, but also explore sound and what happens when you combine these different shapes and materials and with wind and the sounds that they make when they hit each other. And then these, in the similar realm, are little sculptures with materials that we've collected, and they're about motion. So they're perpetual motion toys. And so, you know, this little thing spins on these things, and it sort of creates this little composition. And it's really about the way those shapes interact with each other. Another big thing is iteration. And I don't think we don't ever finish a project and say this is the end of this product or this idea. We really try to make it a rigorous process of ours to use ideas that we explored before and think about them in other ways. So here's an example. This is a necklace that we did a long time ago, 2011, 2012. And when we made this, it was again picking up those blocks and combining them in different ways and kind of unexpected ways. And it really kind of gave us a language that resonated with us. And we're like, we need to explore this in different ways. And it really felt like it hit sort of our core hands-on approach belief. So we took that idea and we scaled it up. This is a light system that we made for Roland Hill, and it's this idea of these shapes, unexpected shapes combined together in a lighting system, and it's a modular system that kind of has similar language to a necklace, and so it's kind of recontextualized.
And I remember when we first launched the product, we got some press, and it was in the New York Times, and the title was, "You call this a chandelier?" Like extra. And so we're like, well, maybe it is what it is.
Yes, we do. We
Yes.
call it a chandelier.
Anything is possible, right?
And then likewise, thinking again about lighting, but in a different way. Like lighting is actually very similar to jewelry when it comes to space. It's a sort of a functional thing, but a lot of its role is decorative. And so what if we just started thinking about lights as jewelry, and so there's these sort of bead language that we added to a very standard globe, and it kind of transformed it and bejeweled it in a way that jewelry does, but a simple way. And then kind of back to that motion idea too, like what if this sort of idea gets put in motion and incorporates the balance? These are large-scale mobiles, so they're about 3 feet wide, and they're meant to sort of interact with the space around them. So all these and more are stemming from this little necklace that we made in our
and I think
office.
we value, like we believe that with each product, it's not the end all, and that it could lead to something, and there's a lot of value in being open to that process. And there's always room for change. There's always room to improve. Like even with the necklace, there was multiple iterations, and then maybe this, then the mobile could turn into something else, and just being open to that flexible process is important.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off from needing to feel like the product that you made is the end. It's the best version of it, because it never is. There's always ways to improve it. And so that's important lessons that we learned. Contextualize is another sort of, it's a little bit more like theoretical, but like really thinking about a function or an object's value or a meaning, and challenging people's perceptions of that. And we tend to do, when we do that, we tend to think about that very subtly. And one example is the Aura light here. This is our first lighting product, actually, and really went to the core of lighting. Like, what are the basic elements here? And it's, you've got, every light has a socket, at least traditional lights, and every light has a bulb. And what does that make? That makes light. And so there's three basic elements there. So what we sought to really isolate those elements and make people think about the magic of a light bulb. And so all we did was add this really simple material brass ring around it, and all of a sudden there's a sort of attention that gets paid to this mundane object, and even though it's very subtle, it kind of challenges you to think about it a little bit differently and think about the light that gets emitted. And so when you turn the light on, it sort of creates this really beautiful halo that was sort of an unexpected discovery when we put a ring around a light bulb, and it's like, wow, this is really special.
And kind of goes back to the, when we reference the caprese salad, I mean, that's like 3 materials, but individually, they're just their own thing, but it's about finding the right element that together it creates a new composition or new feeling or new design concept, but also complementing. So each element complements each other to create something new. And I think that's something we really value and something we kind of try to always push.
Right, and another sort of, this concept's materiality extends from our hands-on process. So really valuing material and thinking about materials as something that can make the product, like solely be the most important thing in a product and sort of express something about what that object is. And so we regularly keep a lot of material samples around, as we mentioned earlier, and keep them out in the open. So we're regularly just picking things up, or you walk in and see the morning light in the studio hitting something and making a really cool shadow or something. So
party time.
Yeah, party. So one really good example of that is our Casimir light fixture that we did for Rolling Hill. And we'd been fascinated with textured glass for a really long time. And so we had all these glass samples in our studio and didn't really know what to do with them. And just one day we're arranging them and overlapping them and finding these like really magical moments of intersection between them, and started to explore that more. And all the samples were these really primary shapes. They were just rectangles. I think we had a couple glass circles around. And so really just started composing those in ways that we thought were really interesting, and then thinking about how light interplays with these glass textures. So yeah, in the end, the glass in this fixture is the fixture, and so there's these really special textures. There's this linear texture going this way. There's linear texture going this way in the other pane, and they reflect off of each other and create this really nice little triangle here. And then this circle is actually a diacrylic glass, so it changes color in a really soft way. It's etched, so it changes from this sunset to this green, and it's the same piece of glass, but depending on the viewing angle that you're looking at this fixture from, it changes completely. And that was really something we were fascinated by and wanted to explore.
Yeah, and I think with this product, we actually started to think about actually inviting people to look at it from different angles, and then with every angle, it has a different effect. So it's about like kind of engaging the sort of presence. Like you have to, we want to like excite people about these like really simple materials, but something about the way that the physical sort of factors that comes together and actually creates magical moments, or even the light also changes a lot when the sun comes through and casts a shadow and things like that. But I think, those are the little, when you go, I don't know, I think about like going to a science museum and then you discover like, how mirror works, or how prism, like the plastic or the block of clear prism, and then the light comes through and it makes a rainbow. Like those kind of things are absolutely fascinating, and it's still it's timeless.
Yeah, we want to instill that sort of material excitement in people, because people don't often really appreciate what things are made out of. So one of our secret motives. Other huge thing for us is collaboration. And
5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay. I'm going to talk really quickly about collaboration. Collaboration is huge. We're a collaboration. We also really love collaborating with people outside of our studio, because it brings this whole new perspective.
Yeah.
And so one example here is a ongoing collaboration we have with a glass artist in Seattle named John Hogan. And he has all this raw talent in glass. He can make any shape, and he knows all these little secrets about things that we like pull out of him and try to think about how that happens and how that relates to design. So, and he's also like creative. He gets design. So we've created multiple lights together, and it's really just like a very enriching exchange.
And I think with collaboration is very important to like, expand your own knowledge. I think it's like other people's perspective adds a lot to, you think, just you could take it or not, but it's also, they could add to something even if you don't believe what they're saying, or if you have different aesthetic or things like that. So it's like being open to that sort of process.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, next.
Embracing the openness. And the final thing is, final little facet is experiences, and we love to travel and like seek out new experiences that expand our notion of design. And so one really good example of that is a collaboration that we did with a Hancock Shaker Village, which is an old village settlement by the Shakers in Massachusetts, and really got to spend 5 days there, like studying everything about them, how they lived, the buildings that they lived in, the furniture that they made.
They're essentially like the first American minimalist in 1700s and 1800s, and they work as if they make the products as if it's part of their religion, that they work really hard. Just everything they make is beautiful to serve God. That's their ultimate goal. But we kind of go from it from a non-religious side and look at it from a design aesthetic and just design thinking, to look at the history and how can we revitalize it. So these are the kind of experiences that really like, how can, we don't want to forget the past or the founders that took us to where we are now, but how can we reinvent it and make it more relevant today? So even like an experience like this, like being here, it's gonna add, we hope that this opens up to like new experiences or new collaborations or new ideas, and have this conversation that we kind of keep on going and pushing ourselves. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's a little glimpse into our studio, and there's lots more to it. So we're happy to answer any questions you have, and be excited to meet any of you if you